Hi, I'm Judy Trinh, a national reporter with CTV News, and I'm so glad to have this invitation from the Nova Scotia Igbo Association to speak to you, the future leaders coming out of the AMARA Youth Program. I want to draw your attention to some statistics from the Canadian Census. It shows that 23% of the people living in Canada right now were born outside of the country. 1/4 of us are immigrants. In Nova Scotia, more than 72,000 residents are foreign-born. That's 7.5% of the population. These are people we can view as outsiders, or we can choose to see their potential. 1979 was the year when my family arrived in Lethbridge, Alberta. I remember being 5 years old, riding my bike, and inadvertently cutting across a neighbor's lawn. An angry man started screaming at me, "Go home, you gook." I was really confused. I'd never heard that word before. So that night I asked my dad, and he told me I must have heard wrong, that what he said was good. As a journalist, I know that words matter, they can inspire, but they can also cause pain. It wasn't until I was in grade 5 that I understood what that word gook meant. I heard it in the movie Platoon. Only then did I understand that racist connotation, that it was a derogatory term for Asian, that I was an other, a word that became a wall, a barrier. That's what racism does. It prevents us from seeing the fullness of being. It blinds us to each other's potential, freezes us in our tracks, and blocks our compassion. So let me tell you a fuller story of who I am and who my family are. I'm a boat person. My family escaped the Vietnam War, and we were one of 100,000 refugees accepted into Canada. I was 4 and my sister was almost 2 when we fled. The communist government wanted to force my father into a re-education camp, basically a prison where he would face torture. The boat that carried us away from Vietnam was about the same size as a yellow school bus, perhaps a meter wide. 315 people were on that fishing boat. My mother will tell you that it was so cramped inside that boat that if you turned your head, you risked bumping noses with the person next to you. For 5 days, we were at sea. On day 3, we were attacked by pirates armed with machetes and guns. They took all our gold, all our money. On day 4, pirates once again boarded. With no valuables left to steal, they took the remaining food and water rations. But on day 5, hope appeared on the horizon in the form of a sliver of land. It was Malaysia. But as we got closer to the coast, the Malaysian Coast Guard surrounded us. They yelled at us through megaphones. They told us we could not dock. Their refugee camps were full, they said. Go to Indonesia. Go to the Philippines. You are not welcome here. So they towed us back out into international waters. What were we to do? We had no water, no food rations. So the captain devised a plan. We would turn the boat around under cover of night, and when we got close enough to the shoreline, we would sink the boat. That way we could not be turned away. The next morning, the boat got within 300 meters of the shore. The captain told his crew to destroy the boat. They took sledgehammers to smash the engine. They set fires on board the ship. Meanwhile, everyone on board was told to grab anything that would float and jump. My dad jumped first, and my mother followed. She jumped in, holding my sister after she pushed me into the sea. Now, there was only one thing that my dad was able to save. He had lost everything, his money, his belongings, but he had a letter tucked inside a pocket, tucked inside a plastic bag. It was a letter from my Aunt Esther, who was in Bible college in Three Hills, Alberta. She and her husband had recently got a placement at a church in Lethbridge. And the letter said that if the Canadian government allowed us in, she would support us financially. That letter was enough to get us into Canada. But when we arrived in Lethbridge, my aunt was not there. We had lost touch with her for several months and she had assumed that we had died. So she and my uncle accepted jobs as missionaries in Taiwan. And here is where the story begins about the kindness of strangers. The Canadian government accepted us as refugees. Volunteers took my parents to English classes and helped them find their first jobs as a dishwasher and a waitress. The woman who lived across the street forced her son Barry to walk me to school every morning. Barry became my first Canadian friend. Political will brought my family here, but it was community support that enabled us to thrive. My family has been in Canada now for 45 years. We've sponsored other relatives, and today there are about 70 of us living here, working as teachers, engineers, IT experts, business consultants, pastors. There's a pharmacist, a doctor, and one journalist. Open hearts, open minds, which opens doors. Thanks for listening to my story.